Hello po. Ako po si Baltasar Lucas at ako po ay liver cancer survivor at ako po ay na-transplant noong 2015 and more than 5 years 2015 September. More than 5 years na po akong na-transplant, and so far generally okay. May mga problema pa, pero generally okay naman, meaning nakakatulog ng ayos pa din, nakakagawa, nakakilos, parang normal pa din. Gagawa naman yung mga responsibilidad bilang magulang at bilang anak. Ako po ay nagkaroon ng cancer dahil po sa hepatitis B, at nalaman lang po namin, ako kasama ng 3 ko pang kapatid, bali 4 po kami, at pati ang nanay ko, tatay ko lang po ang wala. Lahat po kami mayroong hepatitis B from my mother, kasi hindi po na vaccine nung bata kami. Kasi sa bahay lang pinanganak, dito uso sa ibang parte, sa Bulacan yung vaccine po. Nalaman lang po namin 2008 dahil po sa bunso ko, na eventually no 2008 kinuha na rin po siya ng Diyos. Then nagpa-test po kami, doon po namin nalaman. And then 2013 nagkaroon din naman po ang 2 ko pang kapatid, magkasunod lang, halos 1 buwan lang ho. Then kinuha na rin po sila. Ayun. Then 2013 muntik na rin ho ako, nalaman ko na meron na rin pala akong malaking bukol, 13 cm cancer, liver cancer. Hindi po naagapan kasi wala naman pong nararamdaman kapag ikaw ay may liver cancer, dahil wala po siyang nerves, kaya po lang sabi ng mga doktor. So hindi ko malalaman unless malala na o nag-manifest, kita na masyado nang lumaki yung bukol, etc. So yun po. Pero ayun, sa awa naman ng Diyos, gumawa ko ng paraan, at sa awa mo ng Diyos na-transplant naman. Mahirap po. Hindi ko madali. Mahirap po talaga. Pero ang naisip ko na lang, lalo na nung transplant ako, at kailangan kong lumaban dahil may anak pa ako. Mayroon pa akong baby. Ngayon, 6 years old na siya. Pero nung time na yun, baby pa po. So, 2 ano ko. So, masyado po. So, ang ginawa ko nga po noon, may share ko lang din po, ay habang nasa ICU ako nung transplant, humingi ako ng unan, yung baby na unan po, maliit, para nakikita ko yung unan at nagagamit ko. Naalala ko yung bunso ko na kailangan kong lumaban. Ayun po. Hindi ko po inisip yung discrimination, hindi ko po inisip. Sa side ko po, sa part ko po, alam ko maraming istorya. Hindi ko inisip yun sa trabaho, makabalik na. Inisip ko lang, kailangan kong lumaban, kailangan kong mabuhay para sa pamilya ko. At ginranta naman yun ng Diyos. Nakasurvive naman. Hindi ko madali. Pero kung ilalaban po natin, pipilitin po natin, gumawa po ng dapat, mga lahat ng paraan para malagpasan ng pagsubok. Ganun po ang ginawa ko. Saan kami lumapit, saan kami humingi ng tulong, makalikom ng pera, lumapit sa dapat pwedeng lapitan. Ayun naman po. At ang mensahe ko lang po para sa inyo ay lumaban lang po kayo. Huwag po kayong susuko. Sabi nga po sa akin, yung pera may babalik, pero ang buhay hindi na. So, as long na may pag-asa, po pwedeng gamutin, ipilit niyo pong lumaban. Ako po lumaban para sa pamilya ko. Sana po ay ganun din po ang gawin ninyo. Lagi po kayong manalangin katulad ng dati. Dati ang dami kong panalangin, ang dami kong wish. Gusto ko na ganito, gusto po niyan, sana po pagbigyan niyo ako, sana ganyan. Hanggang sa dumating na isa na lang ang wish ko. Ang wish ko sana ay mabuhay pa po ako. Isa lang ang wish ko naman, binigay naman ng Ama. Kaya po ulit, wag po kayong mawawala ng pag-asa. May Diyos, may awa. Tao lang po ang gawa. Salamat po.
Hello po. Ako po si Baltasar Lucas at ako po ay liver cancer survivor at ako po ay na-transplant noong 2015 and more than 5 years 2015 September. More than 5 years na po akong na-transplant and so far generally okay. May mga problema pa pero generally okay naman, meaning nakakatulog ng ayos pa din, nakakagawa, nakakilos, parang normal pa din. Gagawa naman yung mga responsibilidad bilang magulang at bilang anak.
Ako po ay nagkaroon ng cancer dahil po sa hepatitis B at nalaman lang po namin, ako kasama ng 3 ko pang kapatid, bali 4 po kami at pati ang nanay ko, tatay ko lang po ang wala. Lahat po kami mayroong hepatitis B from my mother kasi hindi po na vaccine nung bata kami kasi sa bahay lang pinanganak. Dito uso sa ibang parte sa Bulacan yung vaccine po. Nalaman lang po namin 2008 dahil po sa bunso ko na eventually no 2008 kinuha na rin po siya ng Diyos. Then nagpa-test po kami, doon po namin nalaman. And then 2013 nagkaroon din naman po ang 2 ko pang kapatid, magkasunod lang, halos 1 buwan lang ho. Then kinuha na rin po sila. Ayun. Then 2013 muntik na rin ho ako, nalaman ko na meron na rin pala akong malaking bukol, 13 cm cancer, liver cancer. Hindi po naagapan kasi wala naman pong nararamdaman kapag ikaw ay may liver cancer dahil wala po siyang nerves, kaya po lang sabi ng mga doktor. So hindi ko malalaman unless malala na o nag-manifest, kita na masyado nang lumaki yung bukol, etc. So yun po. Pero ayun, sa awa naman ng Diyos, gumawa ko ng paraan at sa awa mo ng Diyos na-transplant naman. Mahirap po. Hindi ko madali. Mahirap po talaga. Pero ang naisip ko na lang, lalo na nung transplant ako at kailangan kong lumaban dahil may anak pa ako. Mayroon pa akong baby. Ayun, 6 years old na siya. Pero nung time na yun, baby pa po. So, 2 anak ko. So, masyado po. So, ang ginawa ko nga po noon, ma-share ko lang din po ay habang nasa ICU ako nung transplant, humingi ako ng unan, yung baby na unan po, maliit. Para nakikita ko yung unan at nagagamit ko, naalala ko yung bunso ko na kailangan kong lumaban. Ayun po. Hindi ko po inisip yung discrimination, hindi ko po inisip. Sa side ko po, sa part ko po, alam ko maraming istorya. Hindi ko inisip yun sa trabaho, makabalik na. Inisip ko lang kailangan kong lumaban, kailangan kong mabuhay para sa pamilya ko. Ginranta naman yun ng Diyos. Nakasurvive naman. Hindi ko madali. Pero kung ilalaban po natin, pipilitin po natin, gumawa po ng dapat mga lahat ng paraan para malagpasan ng pagsubok. Ganun po ang ginawa ko. Saan-saan kami lumapit, saan-saan kami humingi ng tulong, makalikom ng pera, lumapit sa dapat pwedeng lapitan. Ayun naman po. At ang mensahe ko lang po para sa inyo ay lumaban lang po kayo. Huwag po kayong susuko. Sabi nga po sa akin yung pera may babalik, pero ang buhay hindi na. So, as long na may pag-asa, o pwedeng gamutin, ipilit niyo pong lumaban. Ako po, lumaban para sa pamilya ko. Sana po ay ganun din po ang gawin ninyo. Lagi po kayong manalangin katulad ng dati. Dati ang dami kong panalangin, ang dami kong wish. Gusto ko na ganito, gusto po niyan, sana po pagbigyan niyo ako, sana ganyan. Hanggang sa dumating na isa na lang ang wish ko. Ang wish ko sana ay mabuhay pa po ako. Isa lang ang wish ko naman, binigay naman ng Ama. Kaya po ulit, wag po kayong mawawalan ng pag-asa. May Diyos, may awa. Tao lang po ang gawa. Salamat.
afternoon, everyone. I am Susie Entrata Abrera, and welcome to 2021's first episode of Strong for Someone Cancer Care Connections webinar. In addition, maybe it's not yet too late to wish everyone a happy new year. Now, although this is our first for the year, this is actually the 6th episode of this series already. And this one's being streamed not only on the Strong for Someone Facebook page, but also on the Facebook pages of the Philippine Society of Medical Oncology, or PSMO, and of the Yellow Warrior Society Philippines. So thank you po for joining us this afternoon, at hello po sa lahat po na nanonood sa atin sa kanilang mga Facebook pages. And speaking of Yellow Warrior Society of the Philippines, we'd like to thank Mr. Baltasar Lucas. Dahil siya po yung napanood nyo kanina doon sa video, siya po ang nag-share ng kanyang story sa amin. So maraming salamat po sa inyo, sir. Now, for those who may be joining us for the first time, Strong for Someone is an initiative of Roche Philippines Incorporated to empower patients, their families, and even healthcare workers in the battle against cancer. Strong for Someone started because Roche Philippines Incorporated understands that cancer patients, their loved ones, and those who provide care for them need more than just treatments. They need education or correct and helpful information to help with detection and diagnosis, as well as treatment and management. And they need a network that can be strong for them to help keep their spirits up as they fight this dreaded disease. The fight against cancer is never easy, and this kind of support is valuable in improving patient outcomes. And more than just beating cancer, the goal is for them to take back their lives. And with our previous episodes, we have invited healthcare thought leaders to share with us their experience, expertise, and insights. And for today's episode, we'll focus on liver cancer, which is the 6th most common type of cancer worldwide and is among the top 4 cancers plaguing the Philippines, with over 9,000 cases in 2018 alone. Now, that is a huge number, and so we really need to spread awareness about it. By the way, all previous episodes of Strong for Someone Cancer Care Connections webinar are uploaded here on Facebook, so please feel free to check them out and to share them with people whom you think would benefit from the discussions. We've already covered topics like continuing cancer care in the face of a pandemic, breast cancer, lung cancer, healthcare worker safety, and even treatment funding sources. And speaking of funding, Roche Philippines Incorporated and Strong for Someone will be launching yet another initiative called Go Fund Cancer. If you were with us right before the show started, you may have seen the short video about it, and you may be wondering what that's about. But in case you just got here, let's watch it again. Go Fund Cancer is a one-stop website that will provide cancer patients and their families with information on where they can get funding sources for treatment. Napaka-importante po niyan, at isa sa mga pinoproblema talaga kapag ang tao ay nagkakaroon ng cancer. So unlike before, when patients and families have to go through different websites of government agencies and NGOs to know how they can apply for and obtain funding assistance, now they'll be able to find everything in a single platform. Naku, laking tulong. Plus, it will also be a platform for individual donations for cancer medication and screening. This is a huge breakthrough that will certainly help even more cancer patients and their families. So be sure to please join us on our next episode on February 27th, because we'll share with you the full details of the website then. Okay, before I introduce to you our first speaker, it's time for our first poll question. Asahan po namin ang inyong participation, ha? First poll question: how easily do you think can the general public obtain correct information about liver cancer detection and treatment? So sa palagay ba ninyo, gaano kadali para sa publiko ang makakuha ng tamang impormasyon tungkol sa liver cancer detection at treatment? Now, the possible answers are very easily o napakadali lang, easily o madali lang, with difficulty o hindi madali o kumbaga ay mahirap, or very difficult o napakahirap. It's very easy to participate in our poll. Simply tap or click on your answer when you see it on your screen. We hope all our viewers could do that, because your responses will be a huge help to the Strong for Someone initiative. It will give us insight on how we can help cancer patients and their families better. Now, let me introduce to you our first speaker. He is the chair of the Liver Center of the National Kidney and Transplant Institute, or NKTI. He was the past president of the Hepatology Society of the Philippines and the past training officer of its Department of Internal Medicine of NKTI. To talk to us today about the risk factors of liver diseases leading to hepatocellular carcinoma, myths and facts, and signs and symptoms, please welcome Dr. Jade D. Hamyas.
Good afternoon. Thanks, Miss Susie, for the kind introduction, and good afternoon po sa lahat ng mga nanonood, no? Lalong-lalo na po sa members of the community for Strong for Someone. Magandang hapon po sa inyo. So for this afternoon, as mentioned by Miss Susie, ang topic po natin ngayon is about liver cancer. And sa mga hindi po nakakaalam sa inyo, incidentally for this month, we're celebrating the Liver Cancer Awareness Month, no, dito po sa Pilipinas. It's celebrated every January of the year. Okay? So allow me to share with you some of my disclosures. Okay. So, firstly, so kailangan nating malaman, no, some general information or general na kaalaman about liver cancer. No? So, nabanggit na kanina ni Miss Susie na when you talk about gaano kadami ang cancer, no? So, liver cancer sa buong mundo, makikita po nyo dito na ang liver cancer is the 6th most cancer sa buong mundo. And if we talk about liver tumors, no, ang liver cancer, ang sinasabing pinaka-common na tumor of the liver, accounting to 80% of cases. No? So, and we talk about the distribution, whether kung babae ka o lalaki ka, ang liver cancer for males is sinasabing pang-5 sa pinaka-common na cancer at pang-9 sa mga babae naman. And if you talk about cancer-related deaths, no, makikita po nyo dito, no, although it's the 6th most common cancer globally, pero siya ang pangatlo sa mga karaniwang sanhi ng cancer deaths or death secondary to cancer. And makikita din nyo po sa particular slide na ito na more than 800,000 new cases are being diagnosed annually, no, sa buong mundo, and that's a very big number. And unfortunately, no, sa mga kasama kong lalaki dyan, no, ang liver cancer is more common among males, no? So, and they say that the risk of males is threefold higher, no, compared to their female counterparts. Okay? And makikita rin natin dito na ang chances of getting liver cancer increases with age. And you can see here that the peak age is from 35 to 75 years of age. And sa mga bansang kung saan ang liver cancer is very common or ang new cases is very high, higit na mas maagang nagkakaroon ng mga tao ng liver cancer. And you will see later that the most common risk factor for the development of liver cancer is liver cirrhosis. So pag sinabi nating liver cirrhosis, ito po ay pagpepeklat ng ating atay, no, or scar tissue formation in the liver brought about by chronic injury to the liver o yung chronic na pamamaga ng atay. So, and among patients with liver cirrhosis, as I've said, cirrhosis is the most common risk factor for liver cancer. So 1 to 5%, no, would be the annual incidence rate. Okay. So you can see here, unfortunately, no, so this region, the Philippines is part of this, the Eastern Asia. You can see that the incidence of liver cancer is highest in Eastern Asia. No? So unfortunately, in this slide, you cannot see any data from the Philippines, but just to tell you that the Philippines is part of Eastern Asia. And you can see here that, of course, no, the highest incidence is, you can see in Mongolia and also in China. Okay? Apart from that, no, apart from that the highest incidence is seen in Eastern Asia, yung mortality secondary to liver cancer is also highest in Eastern Asia. So you can see here compared to the rest of the world. No? So Eastern Asia, whether you're a male or female, the highest death rate is seen among a liver cancer patient in Eastern Asia compared to the rest of the world. Okay. So, siguro ito isa pinaka-importante, what are the causes or risk factors, no? So, nabanggit na natin kanina na ang pinaka-common risk factor is liver cirrhosis. And there are a lot of causes of liver cirrhosis. As you can see here, at least in the Philippines, the most common is chronic hepatitis B. So, chronic hepatitis C is another cause of liver cirrhosis. Ang labis na pag-inom ng alak, no, alcohol. And the most common liver disease worldwide, which is called the non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. No? So yan yung pagkakaroon ng fatty liver na hindi po sanhi ng alcohol. And then some other minor causes of liver cirrhosis are autoimmune diseases, no, toxins like aflatoxin, hereditary diseases like hereditary hemochromatosis, and metabolic diseases such as Wilson's disease. So as I've said a while back in my earlier slide, that being male, unfortunately, is a risk factor for liver cancer. And as we grow older, no, so again, that's a risk factor for liver cancer. And diabetes, as we all know, is increasing in prevalence as well in the Philippines. And diabetes is considered now as a risk factor for liver cancer, as well as po yung pagiging obese or being overweight now is considered as a risk factor also for liver cancer. Kasi po ang pagkakaroon po ng excess weight or being obese can increase your risk for the development of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And as you can see here, as I had mentioned also a while ago, that non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is a potential cause of liver cirrhosis. Okay, so paano ba nagkakaroon ng liver cancer? So to the left of this slide, so makikita ninyo are the various injuries, no, or cause of injuries to the liver. And I mentioned na ang mga risk factors or mga sanhi ng liver disease can cause chronic injury to the liver in the form of inflammation. So a person can develop initially chronic hepatitis, and as we all know, if there is inflammation, pwede hong magpeklat or mag-cause ng scar tissue, and that's what we call fibrosis, no, in our parlance, no. So pag nagkaroon po ng severe fibrosis of the liver, yan na po yung tinatawag nating liver cirrhosis. And as I've said, no, so once you develop liver cirrhosis, it increases your risk for the development of liver cancer. Okay, so paano ba natin malalaman, no, ang isang tao ay may liver cancer, or paano natin masasabi na ano ang presentation, ng isang taong may liver cancer, or how they present to hospital, how they present to clinic. So may mga pasyente pong walang nararamdaman, particularly po kung ang kanilang bukol ay masyado pang maliit, no? So pero kung if they do present in clinic, no, so they usually present with this typical triad, no. So makikita niyo po dito, they present with abdominal pain, particularly located po sa may bandang itaas at sa may kanan, yung right upper quadrant area. So since they have bukol, no, so some of them or a great majority of them will present with weight loss o pangangayayat. And since tinubuan ng bukol ang kanilang atay, no, ang kanilang atay ay lumalaki, or yung tinatawag nating hepatomegaly. Okay? So some of them would present with signs and symptoms of liver failure, o yung mga senyales na ang kanilang atay ay pumapalya, no? So one, isang paninilaw ng balat o mata, yung tinatawag ho nating jaundice. Some of them would present with abdominal enlargement because of accumulation of fluid in their abdominal cavity. Yan po yung tinatawag ho nating ascites. No? And some other may present with other complication of liver cirrhosis or manifestation of liver failure, like pagsusuka po ng dugo, no, yung tinatawag ho nating variceal hemorrhage. And some of them can present with alteration in sensorium, o nawawala po sila sa kanilang sarili, yung tinatawag ho nating liver encephalopathy or hepatic encephalopathy. Okay, so as I've said, some of them would present with variceal bleeding that will cause gastrointestinal hemorrhage, and some of them would present with severe abdominal pain dahil pumutok na po ang kanilang bukol sa atay, no? So that is tumor rupture, and pag pumutok po ang tumor, so of course there will be bleeding inside the abdominal cavity, and this would present with shock. Pag sinabi ho natin shock, bumababa po ang blood pressure because they're losing blood in their abdominal cavity as a result of tumor rupture. Okay. So ito po yung sinasabi natin, no? So in the minority of this patient, wala po silang nararamdaman dahil ang kanila pong bukol ay masyado pang maliit. At ito ay kadalasan pong nakikita po natin kung ang isang pasyente ay regular na bumibisita sa kanilang doktor, kasi sila po ay nagkakaroon po ng regular surveillance or screening for liver cancer, particularly po kung sila po ay known na may liver cirrhosis. So some patient will present some other clinical manifestation in the form of syndromes that are related to the cancer itself. So ang isa po dyan, yung tinatawag nating tumataas po yung pula ng kanilang dugo, lumalapot po ang dugo, and that's what we call erythrocytosis. No? So, since ang liver po ay mahalagang bahagi po ng pagme-metabolize po ng asukal sa katawan or sugar no, sa ating katawan, this patient can present with hypoglycemia or pagbaba po ng kanilang asukal sa dugo. And some of them can present with hypercalcemia o abnormal na pagtaas po sa calcium levels. Okay, so ilan po sa mga hindi karaniwang manifestation, no, not so common, most of my presentation of liver cancer, yung pong paglalagnat or fever of unknown origin. No? So ginawa na pong lahat para madiskubre po bakit po siya nilalagnat and wala pong madiskubre. Kasi usually po, pag nilalagnat ang isang tao, iniisip po natin na may infection. So a liver cancer patient will present with fever, no, and na walang other cause. So some of these patients may present ng nagbabara po yung outflow tract ng kanilang liver, yung tinatawag po nating hepatic veins. So these patients may present with abnormally enlarged liver, sobrang bumibilis sa paglaki ng atakan ng kanilang atay, at nagkakaroon po ng tubig sa kanilang abdominal cavity. As I've said, that is what we call ascites. And dahil yung iba naman po, dahil sa laki ng kanilang bukol, pwede hong mag-cause ng pagbabara ng daanan ng abdo. So what we call bile ducts. At ito po ay isa pa rin po sa mga sanhi. Bakit po sila maninilaw? And some of these patients may present with chronic diarrhea. Hindi nagtatai sila ng walang matukoy na cause. So that can be an unusual manifestation of liver cancer. Okay. So siguro ang pinaka-importante bukod sa alam nating ang mga sanhi is how we can prevent liver cancer. So of course, the most important really is to prevent or to avoid or to decrease your risk for liver cirrhosis. Paano natin po magagawa yon? Of course, some of the causes or risk factor for the development of cirrhosis are modifiable. And one of those is alcohol. So, of course, kailangan po umiwas tayo sa labis na pag-inom ng alcohol because excessive alcohol intake can result to liver cirrhosis. So, kailangan din po tayong mag-adopt ng healthy lifestyle. Kasi as I mentioned a while back, so ang labis na pagtimbang, labis na pagbigat, so lalo-lalo na po kayo po ay naging obese, If your blood sugar is uncontrolled, kunwari kayo po ay may diabetes, kung ang inyong pong taba sa katawan tulad ng cholesterol and triglycerides ay matataas, all of these are potential risk factor to development of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And as I've said, is one of the causes of liver cirrhosis. So kung kayo naman po ay walang hepatitis B, so due to after screening, then you can have a hepatitis B vaccination because that's the best way of avoiding or preventing infection to hepatitis B. Of course, for hepatitis C, alam po natin, this is a blood-borne disease. So, kailangan po tayong umiwas sa high-risk behavior. Unfortunately, unlike hepatitis B, we don't have any vaccination available for hepatitis C. Okay? So, we need to practice safe sex, avoid sharing needles, or reusing needles, If kunwari kayo po ay may plano magpatataw o body piercing, siguraduhin po ninyong malinis at bago ang karayom na gagamitin. Okay, so how do we do liver cancer screening? So kasi this is the best way to catch the disease ng maaga pa na mas madali nating mapapagaling ang sakit. Kung ikaw ay may hepatitis B or chronic hepatitis B at ikaw ay lalaki, so kailangan mo ng liver cancer screening pag ikaw ay more than 40 years of age na. So kung ikaw naman ay babae at ikaw ay may chronic hepatitis B, so pag ikaw ay umabot na ng 50 years and above, then you need to be screened also for liver cancer. And of course, as I've said, so kung kayo po ay may liver cirrhosis dahil sa hepatitis B, then you need to undergo liver cancer screening. And if you're a hepatitis B positive patient and if there's a member of your family who has developed liver cancer or developed liver cirrhosis at a very young age, then you need to be screened also for liver cancer. Okay, so liver cancer screening is likewise needed to be done among patients with liver cirrhosis from other causes like hepatitis C, so hereditary hemochromatosis, primary biliary cirrhosis, or cirrhosis from alcohol, or even some cirrhosis from someone with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Okay? So how do we do liver cancer screening and surveillance? Madali lang po. Kailangan lang pong gumawa tayo ng ultrasound ng inyong pong atay, no? At isa pong blood test, yung tinatawag po nating tumor marker, no? Alpha-fetoprotein ang tawag po natin doon. At ginagawa po natin yan every 6 months or kada 6 na buwan. Okay? So, bago tayo matapos, of course, no, marami po kasing maling paniniwala about liver cancer. At isa po yan sa layunin natin sa hapong ito na i-correct po yung mga misconception na yan. So, number 1, madalas ko po itong nakikita o naririnig sa aking mga pasyente that liver cancer is contagious. Hindi po nakakahawa. Kasi sa mga pasyente po, pag ikaw pa inanilaw, isa sa mga manifestation ng po ng liver cancer, lahat po yan iniisip po nila nakakahawa. Okay? So, hindi po na in general nakakahawa po ang liver cancer. Yung iba naman po may paniniwala na pag sila po ay may liver cirrhosis, that is equivalent to having cancer. Hindi po. Ang liver cirrhosis is just a risk factor to develop liver cancer. Pero hindi po lahat ng may liver cirrhosis ay nagkaka-liver cancer. Okay? So number 3, isa pa ho sa mga common, and I'm pretty sure Dr. Mabel will agree to me with this, na ang liver cancer surgery or a tumor biopsy. Kasi minsan po hindi po natin maiiwasan na mag-poke po ng needle po doon sa bukol para masigurado po nating liver cancer. May maling paniniwala po na pag ginawa daw po ang operasyon or liver tumor biopsy, it will cause the spread of the cancer to other parts of the body. Wala pong katotohanan po iyon, no? And the other one, if someone in my family gets liver cancer, I am more likely to get liver cancer too. So, partly correct. Pwede po kasing ang pagkakaroon po ng cancer ay namamana. Pero hindi naman po ibig sabihin kung iyo po, ang isa pong miyembro ng pamilya niyo po ay nagka-liver cancer, kayo rin po ay magkakaroon ng liver cancer. So, in general lang po ang ibig sabihin nun na ang cancer risk po ninyo ay mas mataas. Pero it doesn't necessarily mean na iyon po ay sa patungkol na po or it's relating to liver cancer already. Okay. Next would be liver cancer is caused by alcohol. So, napatunayan na po natin yan kanina, no, sa previous slides ko po na marami pong pwedeng magsanhi po ng liver cancer. So, any liver disease that can potentially lead to liver cirrhosis is a potential cause for liver cancer. Okay? Liver cancer has no cure nor treatment. Magagalit si Dr. Mabel sa atin. Walang katotohanan. Okay? So, pag nahuli po natin ang liver cancer at its earlier stage, so that is may potential pong mapagaling po natin isang pasyente sa liver cancer. So, ito po, marami po nang tatanong, can herbal products offer cure? No? So, kung yan po ay may katotohanan, napagaling na po natin lahat. Lahat po ng uminom po ng mga herbal supplements. They can possibly help somehow in stabilizing the liver disease. But when we talk about liver cancer, probably wala pong role ang herbal supplements or herbal products. So lifestyle has no connection to liver cancer. Unfortunately, that's not true again. Kasi sabi po natin kanina, isa sa mga advice to prevent liver cancer is to live a healthy lifestyle. Kasi sabi po natin, by eating healthy, doing exercise, you can possibly avoid developing non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which is one of the more common causes of liver disease that can potentially lead again to liver cirrhosis and increase your risk for liver cancer. So I think that's my last slide, and I thank you all for listening. And I'll be very happy if you will ask questions and take the opportunity to ask us about any concerns that you might have.
Thank you so much for that, Doc Jade. I really enjoyed your very informative presentation. And of course, what struck me about your talk is that your liver cancer, I mean, for most people, I think, is largely a lifestyle disease. So kumbaga, how we live our lives increases or decreases our risk for it. So we should really, as much as we could, love our liver by eating well, exercising regularly, and avoiding vices. At hindi lang naman para maiwasan ng liver cancer, maiwasan ng halos lahat ng sakit kapag ganito yung ating lifestyle, di ba? So, of course, it's now time. Doc, are you ready? Ito na ating mga questions para sa inyo. We will start with this first one. At napapanahon to dahil Sabado ngayon. Baka may balak dyan. Ito nakalagay, Doc, excessive consumption of alcohol is one of the culprits of liver cancer. So if a person can't quit drinking, then moderation daw is key. But are there types of alcohol that are better than others? For instance, is whiskey better than beer? And is wine really the best of them all?
Okay. Thank you, Susie, for that question. So, tatanungin natin. So, ang unang tanong is there parang better daw na type ng alcohol? Actually, when you talk about liver disease, secondary alcohol, it's not actually the type of drink nor the particular type of alcoholic beverage is what is important, but the alcohol content. No? So, kaya sabihin na natin beer has a lower alcohol content than whiskey. But if, for example, meron po kasi tayong tinatawag na standard drink. So, a standard drink is an alcoholic beverage drinker containing 12 grams of alcohol. So, yung beer is a standard drink. No? So, 12 grams of alcohol. And whiskey probably is a pure spirit. So, 12 grams of alcohol, when you talk about whiskey, it's probably just 1.5 ounce. So, that's about 45 ml only. So, one bottle of beer is equivalent to 1.5 ounce of whiskey. So, that's 45 cc. O sabihin natin, 3 teaspoonful yon. So, kung iinom ka ng beer, sabihin na natin 10 botelya din.
Wow!
And that will be 12 grams of alcohol. Then that's equivalent for just, kunwari, iinom ka ng konting whiskey. Diba? So, sabihin na natin, so, 10 bottles of beer is equivalent to, sabihin na natin, 400 or a glass of whiskey. So, if you consume, kunwari, ang isang tao nag-consume ng 10 bottles of beer in one go, and then another individual, 1 glass of whiskey, pareho lang yung amount ng alcohol. So, ibig sabihin, pareho din yung injury aabutin ng liver nila. So, it's the more important really is the alcohol content, but not the type of alcohol. So, magiging mabuti lang ang pag-inom ng beer if kung kunwari iinom ka ng isang botelya lang compared to someone who is drinking whiskey ng mas marami. So, parang gano'n, in that light, beer would probably better than whiskey kasi it has a lower alcohol content. But if you consume too much, then you're consuming a lot of alcohol also.
Pa din. At marami din yung 10 bottles na yun, in fairness, Doc, ha?
So, ang mas importante really is the amount of alcohol in grams that you consume. Kasi it will predict what sort of injury your liver will suffer.
Yes. Okay, I see. Oh, thank you for clarifying that, Doc. O nga, pagsabi mo parang, what did you call the whiskey? Parang siyang concentrated alcohol?
It's pure spirit eh. So, mataas ang alcohol content niya, sabihin na natin 95% alcohol yun, di ba? So, kasi parang pure alcohol na yung ininom mo doon.
Konti na lang, pwede na pang-disinfect yun, ha?
Yeah, that's very true.
Doc, ito, question number 2. I think some of these questions also that we have prepared or that we're getting also from our viewers, baka madoble din doon sa iba yung presentation. But I guess just to reiterate then siguro some of the information that you've shared with us earlier. So ito yung isa kasi, I know that herbal supplements cannot and do not cure liver cancer. But for those who don't have this disease, can they help with prevention?
Okay. So, katulad kanina, no, I mentioned several parang tips on how to prevent. Really is, ang pinaka-best way is to prevent your risk or reduce your risk for liver cirrhosis. Now, just to answer the question, so katulad ng sinabi ko kanina, it cannot prevent liver cancer, but probably stabilizing disease. There are certain herbal supplements that can probably decrease yung pamamaga ng atay, that probably will not parang prevent yung further progression of the liver disease to liver cirrhosis. No? So, sa ganung paraan pwedeng makatulong. Pero preventing liver cancer, unfortunately, hindi po. No? So, hindi po niya kaya ma-prevent ang development ng liver cancer.
Thank you for that, Doc. Your next question is, in your presentation, body piercing and tattooing are mentioned under high-risk behaviors for hepatitis C. Is this an issue on sterilization or cleanliness, or is there something in the metals and body inks that can put us at risk?
It's more of yung makontaminate ang dugo, no? Kasi hindi natin kayang sabihin sa paningin kung ang isang tao ay may hepatitis C. And hepatitis C being a blood-borne disease, no? So it's more of makontaminate ka ng dugo ng isang taong nakagamit na nung needle na maitutusok sa'yo. So it's more of that. It's more of yung how it is being done, no? Na dapat pag ikaw ay nagpa-body piercing or nagpa-tattoo, siguraduhin bago ang needle, no? Hindi lang in-sterilize dahil nagamit na, nilinisan. It's better that you need to have a new needle kasi hindi yun dun dahil nagpa-body piercing ka, nagka-hepatitis C ka, dahil na-contaminate ka ng needle, ang needle na-contaminate ng dugo ng isang taong may hepatitis C na maaaring ibigay sa'yo at the time that you're doing the body piercing or the tattooing.
Anyway, mura lang naman yung needle, di ba, Doc?
Yeah, oo.
Pwede naman palitan yan per ano. And I think a lot of them practice that naman, yung mga tattoo parlors and stuff. Yung isang part ng tanong na yun is that may metals ba or yung metals na kinakabit sa katawan. Siguro yun, yung metals na minsan may piercing kasi nilalagay or yung ink mismo. Have you heard of anything like that na posibleng contaminated yung ink mismo?
That's very good point, Susie. Yun yung nangyayari. Kasi ang nangyayari, di ba, pag nagtatato, tinutusok doon sa tao, makakontaminate ng dugo, isasawsaw sa ink. Makakontaminate yung ink. So kung yung ink na yon na-contaminate din ng dugo ng isang taong may hepatitis C at yung din same ink ang ginamit sa iba, kahit bago yung needle, it can potentially transmit the disease. Kasi na-contaminate ng blood ng isang taong may hepatitis C.
Oh my goodness, I'm glad you said that. Hindi naman sabay balak ako magpatato, pero kumbaga, we're always focusing on the needle. Pero kumbaga, even the ink, pwedeng meron siyang kinalaman. Okay, we have another one. You mentioned that hepatitis B vaccine can either prevent or reduce the risk of liver cancer. I was given that vaccine as a baby, but now that I'm older, do I need to get a booster or get vaccinated again?
Okay. So normally, we don't advise booster vaccination kasi after completion of the primer series for hepatitis B, ibig sabihin yung chance na mag-develop ka ng antibody that will protect you from getting hepatitis B is almost, sabi natin, 95 to 99%. So, but wala namang problema kung sigurista ka kung gusto mo magpa-booster, no? So, kasi wala namang pong masamang side effect yung pagbabakuna. So, further increase your antibody against hepatitis B and then increases your protection.
Kasi naisip ko rin, Doc, kunwari lang, hindi maalala nung nanay mo na kung pinabakunahan kanya dati, wala namang kaso yun kung kumuha ka ulit ng bakuna.
Wala naman. Kasi the vaccine are very safe. No? Wala naman silang masyadong side effects sa katawan.
Okay, that's good. Okay, another one. What causes, I think you might have mentioned this earlier, of course. What causes fatty liver disease? Can it develop into liver cancer?
Okay, so yung fatty liver disease is general term. So alcohol can cause fatty liver disease, but probably yung nag-question is pertaining to non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It can be a potential cause for liver cirrhosis and ultimately can be a risk factor for liver cancer.
All right, and then now we have a question naman. Thank you nga pala to everybody who's watching us right now on our various Facebook pages, Strong for Someone. We have a question from Meli Herrera Robles. Pag stage 1 liver cancer po ba at naoperahan, kailangan mag-chemo pa ba?
Okay. Pag stage 1 po, ibig sabihin po nun, yung surgery, curative na po yun. So, ang ginagawa na lang po natin, kung kayo po ay may underlying liver cirrhosis, yan na po yung tinatawag nating surveillance for recurrence. Kasi kung may underlying liver cirrhosis pa rin kayo, kahit kayo po ay naoperahan, pwede pa rin maulit po yung pagkakaroon ng liver cancer sa rest po ng part ng inyong katawan.
Right. Thank you so much, Doc. And thank you, Melly, for sending in that question. We have another question this time from Aina D. Gaiza. Is milk thistle a good supplement to maintain a healthy liver?
Okay. So, yan yung mga gusto ko sanang hindi itatanong kasi malalagay ako sa alanganin.
Ay, sorry naman. Next question. Nagpo-phone na.
Okay. So, milk thistle, may mga pag-aaral naman po that it can it's anti-inflammatory, ibig sabihin pwede niyang pababain ang pamamaga ng atay, no? So pwede rin po siyang anti-fibrotic, ibig sabihin iniiwasan din magpeklat ang atay. So kulang lang nga lang po ang mga pag-aaral pa para i-recommend natin siya as a preventive measure or in someone with liver disease para makadagdag sa paggaling ng atay. So but kung ang tanong mo lang, may masama ba sa pag-inom, I don't see anything wrong with that.
That's right.
Probably yung sasabihin mo, meron bang kahihinatnan yung pag-iinom mo nun, yun po yung hindi natin masisigurado.
Just like with siguro most supplements, di ba? It's something that might help in little ways, parang ganon. Ito naman is from Yolanda Valdez Diquianco. What is the main cause of liver cyst and what can be done with this?
Okay. So ang liver cyst, kung iyan po ang sinasabi nila, simple liver cyst, unfortunately, it's something genetically predetermined. Ibig sabihin po, namana nyo po yung genes na magkakaroon kayo ng cyst sa atay. Usually naman po, ang simple liver cyst is benign in nature. Hindi naman po siya nagde-develop into something more serious like yung liver cancer. Hindi naman po. So, ang mga posible lang pong mangyari, maaari pong dumami, maaari pong lumaki ang size ng cyst po ninyo, pwede pong ma-infect, pwede pong magkaroon ng dugo sa loob ng cyst. But in general, it's benign in nature.
I see. That's good news for Yolanda, I think, if ever you know somebody who has it. Now, from Sylvia De Luna naman, last question na po ito, no? Ask ko lang po kung nakakahawa ang may Hepa B o di na nagagamot.
Okay. So, yung unang tanong kung nakakahawa, potential na makahawa siya. So, kasi another blood-borne disease. Kung ang dugo mo ay maisalin sa isang taong wala pang bakuna or hindi pa na-expose sa hepatitis B, then you can potentially infect that person. Unfortunately, ang hepatitis B can be transmitted to another person through sexual contact. No? So, pwede siya makahawa through sexual contact. And pwede bang mapagaling? Yes, may mga gamot po tayo. But unfortunately, not all patients with hepatitis B are candidates for treatment. Not candidates for treatment. But some of them are just being monitored until they satisfy the criteria for treatment. But kung mapapagaling, may gamot, meron po tayong gamot.
Wonderful news. Thank you so much, Dr. Jamyas. That's all the time we have for the questions right now. Maraming salamat po for answering all of them.
Maraming salamat, Miss Suzy, at maraming salamat po sa mga nanunood.
Yeah, and of course, we'll see you later pa, Doc, ha?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We really learned so much from Dr. Jade kanina. And of course, we'll see him again towards the end of our episode. In case anyone's joining us just now, that was Dr. Jade Jamyas, past president of the Hepatology Society of the Philippines. And he talked about the risk factors of liver diseases leading to hepatocellular carcinoma, myths and facts and signs and symptoms. If you missed it, don't worry. The full episode will be uploaded to the Strong for Someone Facebook page so you can watch it then. Okay, now let's have our second poll question before I introduce our next speaker. Are you ready, everyone? How aware are Filipinos that the vaccine for hepatitis B can prevent or reduce the risk of liver cancer? Sa tingin ninyo, gaano ka-aware ang mga Pilipino na ang bakuna laban sa hepatitis B ay nakakatulong para mapigilan o mabawasan ang panganib na magkaroon ng liver cancer? Now, here are your possible answers. Very aware o alam ng nakararami, aware o may mga nakakaalam, somewhat aware o may mga nakakaalam kahit papaano, o not aware at all o walang nakakaalam. Simply tap or click on your answers when you see the poll questions on your screens. Again, your answers will be a huge help to the Strong for Someone initiative, so we hope you could all participate. And thank you in advance. And now I'd like to introduce to you our second speaker, who had her fellowship training in medical oncology at St. Luke's Medical Center. She is the past president of the Philippine Society of Medical Oncology. She is the co-director of the Makati Medical Center's Cancer Center and concurrently the chief of section of medical oncology of the Department of Medicine. To talk to us today about HCC, hepatocellular carcinoma, causes, symptoms, diagnosis, and treatment, please welcome Dr. Maria Belen Tamayo.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Ms. Suzy, for the kind introduction. At gusto kong batiin lahat ng mga sumusubaybay at nanonood ngayon sa usaping ito. Napakaganda ng discussion kanina ni Dr. Jamyas. Sana ay mag-stay kayo at matuto tungkol sa liver cancer bilang bahagi ng Liver Cancer Awareness Month. So, kagaya ng nabanggit kanina ni Dr. Jamyas, ang liver cancer ay bahagi ng pinaka-common na cancer sa Pilipinas. Kasama sa pang-apat na leading cancers in the Philippines. At nangunguna sa atin, of course, is breast cancer. No? And nabanggit na rin kanina ni Dr. Jamias, ano ba yung mga risk factors para magkaroon ng liver cancer? At unang-una sa sinabi niya, no, kung maalala niyo, hepatitis B virus and hepatitis C. Ang alcohol consumption, ang paninigarilyo ay hindi lamang para sa lung cancer. Pwede rin siya maging risk factor for liver cancer. Diabetes, fatty liver disease, overweight and obesity, and isa sa mga binanggit kanina ni Dr. Jamias, ang liver cirrhosis. No? Now, pag sinabi natin liver cancer, ang unang-unang pumapasok sa atin ay yung tinatawag na hepatocellular carcinoma or HCC. Isang cancer na nagmula mismo sa atay. Okay? However, meron pang isang uri ng liver cancer na doon naman sa mga daluyan ng mga bile sa loob ng atay na tinatawag na cholangiocarcinoma. At ang pangatlong uri ng cancer na kasama sa liver cancer ay yung tinatawag na liver metastasis. Ito naman ay tumor na kumalat sa atay na nanggaling sa ibang cancer. Halimbawa, isang pasyente na mayroong lung cancer, kumalat yung kanyang cancer sa atay. Hindi natin sinasabing may liver cancer siya. Sinasabi natin na meron siyang lung cancer na kumalat sa liver. Okay? So, malaki po ang pagkakaiba ng mga yon. Now, ang HCC or ang liver cancer ay isa sa mga agresibo at masyadong talagang nakamamatay na uri ng cancer. Kung makikita ninyo itong graph na ito sa breast cancer, ang kulay blue ang tinatawag na incidence. Gaano kadalas? So makikita mo rito, 52.4% ang incidence ng breast cancer. Tingnan mo yung namamatay, 17.5 lang. Ibig sabihin, mas kakaunti yung namamatay sa breast cancer kumpara sa mga na-diagnose ng breast cancer. Pero tingnan mo yung liver cancer. 11.5 yung na-diagnose, yung incidence. 11.4 din yung mortality. Ibig sabihin, halos lahat talaga ng na-diagnose ng liver cancer ay sadly namamatay din from the liver cancer. Kaya sinasabi natin na fatal itong cancer na ito. Now, liver cancer ay pwede rin makita sa mga pasyenteng sinabi natin kanina na mayroong mga ibang karamdaman sa atay. At una sa narinig natin at natutunan kanina ay ang liver cirrhosis. Yung nagkakaroon ng peklat ang liver. Okay? And that is a risk factor already. Pwede kang magkaroon ng liver cancer. Pwede rin naman na wala kang liver cirrhosis, pero magkaroon ng liver cancer. Halimbawa, mga pasyenteng may hepatitis B or may mga family history of liver cancer. Okay, sa mga lalaki na more than 40 years old, mga babae na more than 50 years old. Ito po slide na ito ay pinakita na rin kanina ni Dr. Jamias. Kaya very quick review lamang po ito na nakikita natin ang normal na atay sa bandang kaliwa ng ating slide. And depende kung ano ang sanhi, hepatitis, alcohol, non-alcohol, smoking, pwede pong magkaroon ng pagkapeklat o pagkasira ng atay na tinatawag na cirrhosis. Unfortunately po, ang cirrhosis is precancerous. So, pag nagsimula na pong magkaroon ng cancer dun sa atay, ay yun, unti-unti na pong dumadami yan at eventually, kakalat po yan sa ibang bahagi ng atay at maging sa labas ng atay. Okay. O kagaya ng sinabi natin kanina, no? Very fatal ang HCC or liver cancer. Pero tinatawag rin natin siyang silent killer. Bakit? Kasi karaniwan po, ang mga sintomas ng HCC, pag naramdaman ng pasyente, advanced na yung stage. Okay? So, madalang po yung maliit pa lamang yung tumor, tapos meron nang nararamdaman yung pasyente, magpapacheck up na siya. Maliban na lang kung napaka-health conscious ng pasyente, nagpapa-executive check-up siya, then yun, pwede by chance, no? Mahuli, ma-discover kung ano man yung bukol na maliit na nagsisimula sa atay. So yun po yung nakalulungkot. Most of the time, pag meron ng symptoms at na-detect na, medyo advanced na po yung stage. At kagaya ng nabanggit kanina, kapag early stage, karaniwan wala pang nararamdaman. Kapag intermediate, yung pwede na pong mawala ng ganang kumain, naninilaw, or parang meron pong wala ng timbang, no? Gumagaan na hindi naman intentional, no? And then the advanced stages, pwede pong lumaki ang tiyan, sumasakit ang tiyan, nag-iiba ang kulay ng dumi. Pwede rin pong magkaroon ng madaling yung mga pasa, no? Dahil po ang atay ay bahagi rin ng trabaho niya ay yung tumulong sa pagpigil ng mga pasa o pagdudugo. Kaya pag nasira po ang liver, pwede po may mga hematoma o mga pasa na nakikita sa mga pasyente. Okay? So, and unfortunately, kapag po talagang napaka-advanced na ng liver cancer, yung nakakapana yung atay sa kanang bahagi ng tiyan, na malaki yung tiyan, matigas, pwede na po magkaroon ng pagsusuka, vomiting, at labis na pagkahina. So, ang tanong ninyo, paano ba natin dinadiagnose ang liver cancer, no? Ang diagnosis po ng liver cancer ay, of course, kailangan po biopsy. Hindi tayo mag-dare na mag-biopsy unless, no? Meron pong mga pagkakataon na pwede na pong hindi i-biopsy ang suspected liver cancer. Kung nakita natin sa CT scan at sa MRI yung characteristic image or picture, no? So, yun po, yung mga ganong pagkakataon, hindi na kailangan ng liver biopsy. Pero kung meron pong duda base sa CT scan or sa MRI, kailangan po talagang mag-biopsy. Okay. Sa ilang pagkakataon, maaaring sa ultrasound, sa liver ultrasound, dahil nabanggit rin kanila ni Dr. Jamias, ito ay isang bahagi ng pwedeng gawing test for screening. Yung liver ultrasound, binanggit nga po niya kanina, every 6 months sa mga high-risk patient. Pwede po itong unang step para po makita kung mayroong bukol dun sa liver, no? So, pero hindi po tayo magla-diagnose ng liver cancer only by liver ultrasound. Nabanggit din po kanina ni Dr. Jamias yung pong blood tumor marker, the AFP, no? Yung alpha-fetoprotein. Kapag ito po ay mataas, siyempre, titingnan po ng ibang dalubhasa kung meron bang ibang dahilan sa pagtaas ng AFP. Kasi hindi naman po automatic na lahat ng mataas ang AFP ay mayroong liver cancer. Meron din po mga pangilang-ilang mga medical condition na hindi naman cancer na pwede po magdulot ng pagtaas ng AFP. Okay. Ang PIVKA ay isa pa rin tumor marker na ginagamit din po sa pag-diagnose ng liver cancer. Pero kailangan po sa mga yan, either may nakita tayo sa CT scan or sa biopsy na indication ng liver cancer. Ang physical examination, yan po ay kung meron pong makakapagmatigas ng bukol sa atay, nag-iisip ngayon ng doktor na maaaring mayroong bukol sa atay kaya may matigas na nakakapa doon. So, then gagawin na yung mga CT scan or MRI para lang po ma-confirm ang diagnosis na yan. Okay. And I think this is my last slide, ano? Ano ba ang mga gamutan na pwedeng i-offer? Gaya po na nabanggit na rin kanina ni Dr. Jamias. Kapag very early stage liver cancer, diyan po pumapasok ang surgery. Yan po ang pwede tayo maka-achieve ng cure, surgery. Kaya napaka-importante na siya na ma-diagnose natin ng very early ang liver cancer. Kung very early din po, yan din po yung pwede maging candidate for liver transplantation. No? Kaya lang po, kapag po intermediate na or advanced ang stages, dito na po pumapasok itong mga naka-enumerate na mga uri ng gamutan. Ito po ay mga gamutang nakadirekta mismo sa atay. Meron dinadaan ng mga gamot, either sa singit, dinadaan sa daluyan ng dugo, or pwede pong diretsyo doon po sa atay. At ang karaniwang pong gumagawa nito, itong transcatheter arterial chemoembolization or TACE, ang SIRT, ay ang ating mga colleagues na interventional radiologists. Mga kasamahan natin sila na katuwang sa paggamot ng liver cancer. Ang external beam radiation therapy ay isa naman pong uri ng radiation therapy na binibigay ng ating mga radiation oncologists. And lastly, yung pong systemic gamutang binibigay sa pasyente, either pinaiinom na tableta or binibigay sa swero. Okay? So, ito pong mga systemic treatment ay usually po talaga para sa mga intermediate and advanced stages. Binibigay po natin ito, maaari rin pong kasama ng mga na bagit nating gamutan kanina, gaya ng TACE or SIRT or radiation therapy. Kaya po yung pong treatment ay depende po sa kung ang tumor ay nasa antay lang, maliit lang ba, kung kumalat na. Depende rin po ang gamutan kung gaano pa kaganda yung naiiwan na liver. Kasi halimbawa po kung ang operable ang liver cancer or mildly operable, kung naman sirang-sira yung liver because of liver cirrhosis, hepatitis, magbibigay rin po ng recommendation ng ating hepatologist and ng ating liver surgeon kung safe na operahan o tanggalin yung bukol sa antay. And of course, yung performance status. Ang ibig pong sabihin nito ay yung ano pa bang nagagawang activities ng pasyente. Ang pasyente ba ay parang walang sakit, no? Doing the regular activities or palagi na lamang siyang nakahiga, bedridden na ba siya? Yun po ay mga factors na kinoconsider natin sa pagpili kung ano ang best treatment para sa liver cancer ng pasyente. So, Miss Susie, I think ito na yung aking last slide, no? So, maybe later on, meron tayong mga questions.
Yes. That's right, Doc Mabel. Maraming salamat sa iyong presentation. At syempre, yung isa dun sa mga na-realize ko dun, just like with a lot of illnesses or diseases, the earlier you catch it, the better. Kasi parang napaka-hopeful yung sinabi mo na kapag maaga siyang nakita, pwedeng operahan, di ba? Pwede siyang candidate for transplant. So the earlier, the better. And nothing is as early as getting vaccinated as a newborn. Dahil isa dun sa mga binabantayan natin, yung Hepa B na pwedeng posibleng cause ng liver cancer. At ang Hepa B vaccine pala ay free and mandated by law kapag yung para sa mga newborns. So kumbaga nakakatuwa isipin na yung mga babies, 'di ba? Babies pa lang sila, poprotekta na sila sa Hepa B, which is one possible cause of liver cancer. Nako, ito na ang mga questions para sa iyo, Doc. Yan, ito ating first question para kay Doc Mabel. If there are no symptoms in the early stage of liver cancer, what routine diagnostic tests should people undergo for early detection? And at what age do doctors recommend that people start having these tests done?
Napakaganda ng question na yan, Miss Suzy, no? Pero kailangan nating i-emphasize na hindi naman lahat ng tayo ay kailangan mag-screen. Kailangan nating i-identify sino yung mga high risk. No? Kasi yung mga high risk, yan ang talagang dapat nating gawa ng mga screening, kagaya na rin na nabanggit kanina ni Dr. Jamias. So, yung pagkakaroon ng hepatitis in the past, family history, yan ay ilan lamang sa mga risk factors. Kaya kung meron kang ganyan, yung mga pasyente ay ini-encourage natin na gumawa ng screening procedures like liver ultrasound. No? They can visit their hepatologist, na siya namang karaniwang unang pinupuntahan ng mga pasyenteng yan. No? And meron pa nga mga recommendation na kapag mayroong family history ng liver cancer, maaaring as early as 18 years of age, pwede lang may mga gawin na mga examination. Pero hindi natin sinasabi na lahat 18 years old pataas gagawin, no? Kasi hindi rin naman practical yon. Kailangan natin i-identify sino yung at risk. Tapos sila yung gagawin natin ng mga screening test.
So pwede, like you said nga, pwedeng at an early age if there is reason to. And siguro kapag kunwari may duda kayo, katulad sabi yun, nagkaroon ng HEPA before and stuff, so isama na siya dun sa request ng kunwari annual physical exam, no, Doc?
Yes, oo, Miss Suzy, yes.
Yeah, thank you, Doc. Ito, next question. Can I develop liver cancer even without hepatitis or liver disease?
Yes, oo. Nabanggit rin kanina ni Dr. Jamias yun na hindi requirement ang hepatitis para magkaroon ng liver cancer. Meron kami mga pasyente na when we diagnose na may liver cancer, ang unang-una namin pinapagawa, check natin ang hepatitis. Meron ba siya? Tapos meron kami makikita ng mga patient, walang hepatitis B, walang hepatitis C, no? Some of them also walang family history, no? So, I think marami pa rin that's why dyan pumapasok yung mga ibang condition na non-alcoholic liver disease, fatty liver, alcohol, yun ay mga risk factors and And yun nga lang, most of the time talaga, liver cirrhosis and hepatitis ang background ng mga patients na mayroong liver cancer. Pero maaaring wala silang hepatitis.
Wow. Yun yung parang, saan ang galing yun? Parang ganun
Yes,
medyo nakakagulat. Pero I'm sure, Doc, medyo maliit lang yung percentage siguro nun.
Well, I don't know if we really have very good registry. We can ask maybe later si Dr. Hamias, no, about the incidence ng liver cancer sa mga no history of hepatitis, no. But in my practice, siguro 50-50, no, meron kalahati ng mga pasyente ko talagang wala hepatitis, no. Yung iba naman kalahati meron.
All right, Doc, our next question is, my mother died of liver cancer. Am I at risk of developing or getting it?
Well, depende yon. Ano ba ang cause ng liver cancer ng mother niya? No? Kasi kung hepatitis yon, may mga hepatitis na napapasa sa anak. Kaya halimbawa, lahat ng mga kapatid niya ay nagkaroon din ng hepatitis. Ibig sabihin, na-transmit from mother to the child, and then nagkaroon siya ng chronic hepatitis B, then we can say na kailangan talaga mag-monitor itong pasyenteng ito. Not necessarily dahil magkakaroon siya, pero at high risk siya na magkaroon ng liver cancer. Okay? So depende kung ano yung naging cause ng liver cancer ng mother. Okay?
I see. That's a good answer, Doc. Ito naman, is liver transplant an option for liver cancer patients?
Yes, for early stage. For early stage liver cancer, yes. Kung di patatanggal yung bukol, pwedeng transplantation.
Nice. Very hopeful. Ito naman, not just specific to liver cancer, but for other types of cancers, how do doctors decide on which course of treatment to recommend for a specific patient? And are there cases when different treatment methods should be done simultaneously?
Oh, yes. So, ang gamutan ng cancer ay unang-una, depende kung nasaan yung cancer, ano yung organ. Okay? Number 2, ano yung stage? Yung gaano kakalat yung cancer? Kasi generally, kung early stage, surgery is the treatment. Okay? The mainstay of treatment is almost always surgery in general. Okay? So, mga 90%, no? Pag early stage cancer, surgery ang treatment. And number 3, very important, ano ba yung performance ng pasyente? Gaano siya kalakas o kahina? Kasi sometimes, yung treatment, depende, baka may pasyente, very bad heart. Hindi siya pwedeng gamutin kasi magkakaroon ng complication sa heart. You know, maninimbang ka eh. No? So, very important yung iba pang condition ng pasyente, yung kanyang performance status in the choice of the treatment of the patient. And yes, sa cancer treatment, we call it talagang team approach na yan, Ms. Uzi. It's a teamwork of the surgeon, the medical oncologist, the hepatologist, the radiation oncologist. Teamwork, we put our heads together para maka-come up with the best treatment for the patient. But at the end of the day, it's always the patient who will decide kung ano yung treatment base sa mga nirekomenda ng team niya.
Right. Wow, that's it takes a village din talaga, no? And that's actually being part of the society. That's what this is all about. Also, tulong-tulungan tayo, no? We have a question naman for you, Doc, from Aurora Palma Pasha. I'm a breast cancer patient since 2017, and I diligently follow all imaging needed to check if there are traces of spread. Now, my whole abdomen CT scan shows nodule on my liver 6th segment. My onco said we will monitor after 3 months, move to 4th segment. What is the best medical option for this nodule?
Yes. Well, of course, yung kanyang attending oncologist knows best kasi nasusubaybayan na siya noon. No? But yes, kung merong nodule in the liver at merong doubt na ito ay recurrence, pwede naman talagang obserbahan, pero dapat very closely. Repeat imaging. In some instances, kung talagang malakas ang duda ng oncologist niya, hindi naman masama kung i-recommendang i-biopsy yun. Okay? So, yung nasa liver, para lang makatiyak. Kasi ayaw mo rin naman na to dismiss kaagad. Na, wala yan. You know? I mean, of course, wishful thinking, you know? I mean, lalo na matagal na siyang survivor, no? But I think it really it depends on the situation of the patient, no? So, pwedeng i-obserbahan, pwede rin namang mas aggressive, proactive, i-biopsy kaagad.
Katulad sabi mo kung ano din yung, saan komportable din yung pasyente siguro, no? Doon sa
Yes.
recommend sa kanya.
Right.
Right. Alright, ito naman. Medyo maraming questions to, pero from the same person. Ito ay galing kay Lord Jin Castro Acoba. Sabi niya, among the stated ways to diagnose HECA, which among these do you think has the most sensitivity?
That's a good question. Actually, a very good CT scan, pag pinakita niya yung classic na finding on the CT scan or MRI, very high sensitivity. Kaya nga, hindi na kailangan ng biopsy.
Sorry, Doc, pag ganun, hindi na kailangan ng biopsy.
Dati, kailangan pag meron para ma-diagnose mo liver cancer, kailangan i-biopsy. Ngayon, kung makikita mo yung characteristic finding on the CT scan or MRI, pwede wala na biopsy.
Wow. Okay, so yun ang the best so far. Pero okay. Now, ito, galing dito kay Lord. Sabi niya, at what specific stages of liver cancer can you recommend in partial hepatectomy? And how about full hepatectomy? If the patient is 60 years old already, would you still recommend surgery?
Okay. Now, of course, the best na makaka-answer niyan ay ang ating liver surgeon, no? But because they really have criteria for operating on the liver, okay?
Yes.
Pag inoperahan nila yung antay, they will, primary liver cancer or HCC, talagang tatanggalin nila yung pinakabukol. And they will make sure na merong naiiwan na receipt, may maiiwan na normal liver pa. So, I mean, kung napakalaki ng liver cancer na hindi na wala ng sapat na normal liver na maiiwan, ay magdadalawang isip si surgeon, no? Baka meron pa munang ibang modality na gagawin, paliitin yung bukol, para, and then, tsaka ooperahan para mas marami yung liver na maiwan, you know? So, doon yung, doon mapasok yung team approach, yung teamwork,
Right,
no?
right.
Yeah, so meron pa rin kami mga colleagues yung sa interventional radiologist, yung treatment na directed doon sa antay, making use of radiation therapy, making use of chemoembolization, mga gamot na dinadaan sa blood vessel papunta sa atay. No? Yun din ay isa sa mga paraan na pwedeng makatulong na mapaliit yung tumor, and then eventually sometimes na-operahan din naman yung tumor.
And yung isa niya minention dito, Doc, ay what if the patient is already 60 years old? I imagine age is a factor also?
Well, actually, age per se, Suzy, is not an absolute indication. Yes.
Mali yung myth ko na yun, ah.
Oo, kasi kung 60 years old ka, pero ang lakas-lakas ng katawan mo, wala kang ibang medical problems, then you will be fit for treatment. Pero kung ikaw naman, bata ka nga, pero meron kang ibang serious medical problem, then, yun, pwedeng hindi ka magamot ng tama, no? So, age per se is not an indication.
I see. And as we can see, marami na mga tao na tumatanda ngayon who are staying very healthy and fit, no?
Yes.
All right, now we have one last question, and this is from some anonymous viewer natin. What is the expected lifespan of a liver cancer patient?
Okay, so that's a very good question. The lifespan will depend on the stage and the treatment na nabigay. Kung early stage, na-operahan, wow, we have patients surviving 5 years more, na-operahan. Okay? Pag mga intermediate stage, depende kung nabigay yung appropriate treatment, they can live to 6 months to a year or more than a year. Ang mahirap talaga ay yung mga advanced stages o yung mga kalat na. No? But ang priority natin sa mga yan is to improve their quality of life. We may not be able to prolong their life, but if we can improve their quality of life, malaking achievement na yon.
Right. Thank you so much for that, Doktora. Maraming salamat po sa pagsagot sa mga tanong and of course sa iyong presentation earlier on. Maraming salamat, Doc Mabel, for joining us today to share your knowledge and insights on liver cancer. And of course, we'll see you again in just a bit.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doc. We all learned so much today. Now, our two speakers, Dr. Hamyas and Dr. Tamayo, didn't just share information about liver cancer with us. They both did so in a way that even people without a medical background could easily understand. As the old adage goes, knowledge is power, and that's true even in the fight against cancer. Now, understanding what causes it and how to detect it or diagnose or treat it will either reduce your risk of getting cancer or improve treatment outcomes. Now, if you missed a part of the episode or if you want to go back to certain topics, you can watch us again here on the Strong for Someone Facebook page. We'll upload it very soon to go with all the previous episodes of the Cancer Care Connections webinar series. Now, today's episode, we asked our audiences 2 poll questions, and now let's check out the results. For our first poll question, how easily do you think can the general public obtain correct information about liver cancer detection and treatment? Or sa palagay ninyo, gaano kadali para sa publiko na makakuha ng tamang impormasyon tungkol sa liver cancer detection at treatment? At ito po ang inyong mga sagot. Very easily, 3% lang daw. Easily, 19%. With difficulty, yan yata yung pinakamaraming sinagot yung ating nanood sa atin ngayon na Facebook viewers, 56%. And very difficult ay 22%. Hopefully, ito pong show namin ay makaka-improve ng scores na yan at makakawa kayo na mas maraming impormasyon. Samantala, for our second question, how aware are Filipinos that the vaccine for hepatitis B can prevent or reduce the risk of liver cancer? Or sa tingin ninyo, gaano ka-aware ang mga Pilipino na ang bakuna laban sa hepatitis B ay nakakatulong na mapigilan o mabawasan ang panganib na magkaroon ng liver cancer? At tingnan natin ang inyong mga kasagutan. Ayan, very aware, 3%. Aware, 34%. Uy, maganda. Mas marami tayong alam tungkol dyan. Somewhat aware, 44%. Not aware at all is 19%. All right. Now, good poll. And of course, we'd like to thank everybody who joined us and participated in our poll. Maraming salamat po for your participation. Now, before we wrap up today's episode, let's bring back our speakers, Dr. Jade Hamyas and Dr. Maria Belén Tamayo for their parting messages. We'll start with you, Dr. Hamyas.
Okay, so siguro yung gusto kong ipaabot, no, palaging sinasabi ko sa mga pasyente ko. So, an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. So, ang cancer, pag nandyan na, mahirap nang maiwasan. Nandyan na yan. So, the best way really, at least for liver cancer specifically, would be to reduce your risk for liver cirrhosis. Magpa-konsulta sa inyong doktor, lalong-lalo na kung meron kayong mga senyales or simptomas na patungkol sa liver. Or kung kayo po ay may family history ng sakit sa atay, no, kayo po ay pumunta sa inyo pong doktor para po kayo ay ma-examine. And most importantly pa po, don't disregard your symptoms. No, wag niyo pong ipagsawalang bahala ang nararamdaman po ninyo. Yun lang po. At maraming salamat po ulit po sa inyo at magandang hapon.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hamyas. Maraming salamat sa iyo. And now, let's hear from Dr. Tamayo.
Okay, maraming salamat ulit sa lahat ng nanood. Sana po ay marami kayong natutunan sa aming dalawa ni Dr. Hamyas. Bilang bahagi ng awareness ng liver cancer, talaga po gusto natin na sana makatulong itong mga information na ma-diagnose ng maaga para magamot ng maaga ang ating mga liver cancer patients, knowing na karaniwan wala akong mga symptoms ang early stage liver cancer. No? So, kung gusto natin na mapahaba at mapaganda ang buhay ng patient, kailangan talaga ma-diagnose ng maaga. So, let us not disregard our symptom, pero at the same time, kailangan maging aware tayo sa well-adult checkup. Kung may well-baby checkup, kailangan meron ding well-adult checkup. Okay? Thank you, everyone.
Ang ganda ng well-adult check-up, Doc. Oo nga naman. Lalo na dahil tayo ay medyo tumatanda na rin. Thank you so much, Dr. Tamayo. Again, Dr. Hamyas, we really appreciate you making time to be part of today's episode of Strong for Someone Cancer Care Connections webinar. Please know that sharing your knowledge and insights with our viewers is a huge help for patients and their loved ones as they battle cancer to take back their lives. Once again, Doc Jade, thank you po. And of course, Doc Mabel, maraming salamat. For our viewers who also want to join the initiative to be Strong for Someone, please visit www.facebook.com/strongforsomeone. You can learn more about the program there, and you can also find there different ways through which you too can help out. And speaking of helping out, again, Roche Philippines Incorporated and Strong for Someone are launching Go Fund Cancer next month. This initiative is a website that will provide cancer patients and their families information on where they can get funding assistance for cancer treatment, all in a single, easy-to-navigate platform. With this initiative, they can easily browse through different grants from both the government and NGOs. They'll know how they can apply, what the requirements are, where to submit them, and so on, without having to go through too many different websites. And this platform is also a way for us to help out. We can make donations here for cancer medication and screening, which will be forwarded to different NGO partners. Nakaka-excite po yung website na yan. We'll tell you everything there is to know about the Go Fund Cancer on February 27 episode of Strong for Someone Cancer Care Connections. So please be sure to tune in there right here on Facebook. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. I'm Susie Entrata Abrera, and I'll see you all again on our next episode. Until then, keep safe and God bless.